If you grew up in a church basement anywhere between Ohio and the Dakotas, you already know the smell. Percolator coffee. Something bubbling under foil. Rolls rising in a back kitchen. And somewhere on a folding table, a spiral-bound cookbook with a stained cover, held together by a rubber band. That book held the recipes we're about to bring back. 18 casseroles that every Midwestern grandma made. 18 dishes that fed weddings, funerals, potlucks, and Wednesday night suppers for 50 years. And almost all of them have quietly disappeared. So before the last Lutheran lady in America closes her recipe box forever, let's open it one more time. Now, to understand what we lost, you have to understand what a church cookbook actually was. It wasn't a book. It was a fundraiser. A ladies' aid society, or an altar society, or a Methodist women's circle would gather recipes from every woman in the congregation, mail them off to a printer in Kearney, Nebraska, or Collierville, Tennessee, and 3 months later, a shipment of spiral-bound cookbooks would arrive in the church basement. They'd sell them at bake sales for $3 a copy to fix the roof or send kids to Bible camp. That printer in Kearney, Nebraska, by the way, is called Morris Press. A man named Fred Carlson opened it in 1933. And over the next 90 years, that one company alone printed over 150,000 different community cookbooks, 60 million books in total. Pay to publish, almost never rejected, which is how tiny prairie congregations in North Dakota and Iowa and Kansas managed to industrial scale an entire cuisine. Your grandma wasn't just cooking, she was publishing. And the cuisine had a name, at least in the upper Midwest. They called it Hotdish. Everywhere else in America, it was a casserole. But from Michigan to the Dakotas, a one-dish baked meal served hot from a 9x13 pan was a hot dish. One word, no space, though the spelling didn't get locked in until late in the 20th century. The earliest hot dish recipe ever printed? We know exactly where it came from. The Grace Lutheran Ladies' Aid Cookbook, Mankato, Minnesota, 1930. Submitted by a woman identified only as Mrs. C. W. Anderson. 2 pounds of hamburger, 2 onions, a box of cremettes macaroni, celery, canned peas, 1 can of tomato soup, and a quart of canned tomatoes. That's it. That's the original. The pastor of Grace Lutheran today calls Mankato the epicenter of hot dish. And here's what almost nobody remembers. The original hot dish wasn't built on cream of mushroom soup. Cream of mushroom didn't exist yet. Campbell's wouldn't introduce it for another 4 years. But when they did, in 1934, everything changed. Because cream of mushroom soup wasn't just soup. Campbell's marketed it as a sauce, ready-made, shelf-stable. 2 cans a week, and a Lutheran housewife could bind together any protein, any starch, any vegetable, and feed a family of 6. Midwesterners started calling it the Lutheran binder. And once that single can entered the pantry, the golden age of the Midwestern casserole began. That brings us to our first dish, and the one that redefined Thanksgiving for half the country. Number 1. Green Bean Casserole. Canned green beans, cream of mushroom soup, milk, soy sauce, and a crunchy topping of French fried onions. You already know this one. But here's what you probably don't. It was invented by a woman named Dorcas Reilly in 1955 in a test kitchen in Camden, New Jersey, for an Associated Press reporter who just wanted a holiday side dish. Reilly called it the Green Bean Bake. Campbell's renamed it years later. By the time she died, in October 2018, her casserole was being served at roughly 20 million American Thanksgiving dinners every single year. It accounts for 40% of all Campbell's cream of mushroom soup sold in America. Reilly donated the original recipe card, handwritten, to the National Inventors Hall of Fame in November 2002. It hangs there now next to Edison's light bulb patent. Number 2 is the ancestor of them all, Mrs. C.W. Anderson's original 1930 Mankato hot dish. Hamburger, cremettes, celery, canned peas, and tomato soup. If you've never made it this way, you've never tasted the real thing. It predates cream of mushroom by 4 years and tater tots by 26. Number 3, Tater Tot Hotdish, the unofficial state dish of Minnesota. Ground beef, cream of mushroom, frozen green beans, and corn, topped with a perfect armor of Ora-Ida tater tots. And here's where it gets strange. The tater tot itself was invented in 1953, not in Minnesota, but in Ontario, Oregon, by 2 brothers, F. Neefy Grigg and Golden Grigg. They were staring at a pile of potato scraps from a French fry line, trying to figure out what to do with them. They ran the scraps through a redesigned prune sorter, pushed the puree through a plywood board drilled with 3/4-inch holes, and deep-fried what came out. Nefi debuted them at the 1954 National Potato Convention at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach. An OREIDA employee named Clora Leigh Orton won a company contest to name them. And in 1965, Heinz bought the whole operation for $30 million. Within a decade, every Lutheran church basement from Duluth to Fargo had adopted the Tater Tot as the crown of the hotdish. Number 4, Tuna Noodle Casserole. The first recipe ever printed appeared in Sunset magazine in 1930, submitted by a woman identified as Mrs. WFS of Kennewick, Washington. But tuna noodle didn't become a Midwestern funeral staple until Campbell's released a 1952 recipe booklet titled Easy Ways to Good Meals. After that, it moved into every church basement in America and became the single most served dish at Lutheran funeral lunches for the next 40 years. Number 5. Johnny Marzetti, a baked pasta casserole, macaroni, ground beef, tomato sauce, shredded cheese. A Columbus, Ohio staple. For decades, every school cafeteria in central Ohio served it. On Wednesdays. The story goes that Teresa Marzetti, an Italian immigrant who opened a restaurant across from Ohio State University in 1896, named the dish after her brother-in-law, Johnny. Romantic story. Here's the problem. The T. Marzetti Company's own archivists have gone through the menus, the advertisements, the photographs. There's no record. None. The name appears in print for the first time in the Columbus Dispatch on April 11, 1916. But the recipe printed that day uses pork and chili powder. Nothing like the version your grandma made. And in 2010, when Congress passed the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act, the sodium limits forced Johnny Marzetti off Ohio school lunch menus. An entire generation of Ohio kids will grow up never having eaten it. If you thought that one had a strange origin story, the next few are going to get even stranger. Number 6. Funeral potatoes. Shredded hash browns, sour cream, cream of chicken soup, cheddar cheese, and a topping of crushed cornflakes swimming in melted butter. Most food writers credit this one to the Mormons, The LDS Relief Society was spreading it through Utah by the late 1800s. But here's what the attribution overlooks. The exact same dish appears under different names in Lutheran and Methodist cookbooks across Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota. They called it cheesy potatoes, party potatoes, Texas potatoes, potatoes Romanoff. It was the dish you brought when somebody died. Every Midwestern woman over the age of 65 can make it from memory, without a recipe. Number 7. Chicken Divan. This is maybe the most unlikely dish on the list, because it didn't start in a church basement. It started in a New York City supper club. The Divan Parisian restaurant inside the Chatham Hotel invented it in the early 1940s. Chef Anthony Lagasse's signature dish. Poached chicken, broccoli, a proper French Mornay sauce, parmesan, broiled until golden. By the 1960s, somebody in Iowa got a hold of the recipe, and the Mornay became a can of cream of chicken soup mixed with mayonnaise and a teaspoon of curry powder. That's the version in every Methodist cookbook published between 1965 and 1980. Number 8. Runza Casserole. This one has the deepest roots of anything on the list. It traces back to Volga German immigrants, Germans who'd moved to Russia at Catherine the Great's invitation in 1763, then moved to Nebraska and Kansas a century later. They brought a stuffed bread called a bierach. And the casserole version, ground beef, cabbage, onions, layered between sheets of crescent roll dough, is ancestral Nebraska Lutheran and Mennonite food. A woman named Sally Breening Everett opened the first Runza drive-in in Lincoln, Nebraska in 1949. It's still there. Number 9. Wild Rice Hotdish. Pure northern Minnesota. Wild rice, the real stuff, not the paddy-grown imitation. Cream of mushroom soup, chicken, onions. In 2011, when Senator Al Franken started the Minnesota Congressional Hotdish off in Washington, D.C., the winning entry that very first year was a wild rice hotdish submitted by then Senator Amy Klobuchar. Number 10. Scalloped corn casserole. Creamed corn, whole kernel corn, a box of Jiffy corn muffin mix, eggs, sour cream, and a stick of butter. The Jiffy Company, by the way, was founded in 1887 in Chelsea, Michigan. Still family-owned. Still cranking out the same blue box your grandmother used. Number 11. 7-layer dinner. Raw potatoes on the bottom, then onions, then raw ground beef, then rice, canned peas, canned tomatoes, bacon on top, baked for 2 hours at 350 degrees. This was a Depression-era farm cookbook staple that survived straight through the 1960s. No browning, no sautéing. You just layered it cold and put it in the oven. Number 12. Chicken and rice casserole. Specifically, the Lipton onion soup version. Raw rice, raw chicken, 1 can of cream of mushroom, 1 can of cream of chicken, and 1 envelope of Lipton onion soup mix, which, by the way, was introduced in 1952. Lipton printed this recipe on the back of the onion soup box and called it chicken in a hurry. For 20 years, it was on the dinner table of half the Methodist women in Indiana. Number 13. Ham and noodle casserole. The day after Easter dish. Leftover ham, egg noodles, a head of broccoli, a can of cream of celery, and shredded cheddar on top. Number 14. Midwestern goulash. Nothing to do with Hungary. Ground beef, elbow macaroni, canned tomatoes, green pepper. Your grandmother called it goulash. Your great-grandmother would have laughed at the name. Number 15, Lazy Cabbage Roll Casserole. Ground beef, rice, tomato sauce, and chopped cabbage baked straight in the pan instead of stuffed and rolled. Polish Catholic and Czech Catholic parishes all over Wisconsin and northern Illinois. They called it lazy halupki. Number 16, Poppy Seed Chicken. Late-era casserole. Peak years 1975 to 1985. Chicken, sour cream, cream of chicken, topped with crushed Ritz crackers, melted butter, and a shower of poppy seeds. This one crossed the border from Southern Baptist cookbooks up into Missouri Methodist kitchens. Number 17, glorified rice. Cooked white rice, cottage cheese, crushed pineapple, miniature marshmallows, and Cool Whip. Served cold, which caused a century-long argument among Lutheran ladies about whether it counted as a salad or a casserole. Janet Letnes Martin, who wrote Lutheran Church Basement Women in 1992, finally declared that because it's served cold, it's neither. Everyone ignored her and kept bringing it anyway. And number 18, the rhubarb custard bar. Not technically a casserole, but a 9x13 dessert that arrived at every potluck alongside the hot dish, and without it, this list would be dishonest. Rhubarb from the side of the garage, sugar, egg custard, a shortbread crust, served warm or cold, always cut into squares, and the ladies called them bars. Because in the Midwest, a dessert square isn't a square. It's a bar. So that's the menu. The question is, why did all of this disappear? It wasn't the food. The recipes still work. They still taste like home. What actually disappeared was the infrastructure. The Ladies' Aid, the Altar Society, the Methodist Circle. Starting around 1970, as women entered the paid workforce in huge numbers, those volunteer networks that compiled the cookbooks, staffed the funeral lunches, and ran the church basement kitchens began to collapse. The dishes outlived the institutions, but only barely. There are still old boxes of spiral-bound cookbooks in estate sales across Iowa and Nebraska every weekend. Most get thrown away. But here's the twist. The food is coming back. A chef named Amy Thielen published The New Midwestern Table in 2013 and triggered the first serious revival. Molly Ye's Food Network show, Girl Meets Farm, started broadcasting from a North Dakota sugar beet farm in 2018. The Church Basement Ladies musical, based on Janet Letnes Martin's books, is now on its 9th installment. And a 50-year anniversary edition of More with Less, the 1976 Mennonite cookbook that sold nearly 1 million copies, is being assembled right now, with open submissions from grandchildren around the country. Which means if your grandmother's recipe box is still sitting in a closet somewhere, open it. Copy down what's inside. Because the women who built this cuisine didn't think they were writing history. They were just trying to feed a church basement full of hungry people on a Wednesday night. And they ended up creating the most specific, most generous, most American cuisine we've ever had. The kind you eat off a paper plate, sitting on a folding chair, while somebody's husband gives the closing prayer. That food deserves to be remembered. So if even one of these 18 dishes brought back a memory, leave it in the comments below. Name the church. Name the lady who made it. Name the pan it came in. Because that's how this cuisine survives. One story at a time. Until next time, thanks for watching.